What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. I am your host, Jimmy Smith, and this thing's just muting, unmuting. I'm truly done with having this smashed ankle, non-Ethernet. I just wanted to get the room done, but we all know how life likes to treat me. So let's go. We're here, all you sickos, getting ready for the late afternoon joint practice, but we got some news here. I'm going to try to drop this before any of the press conferences or the practice begin today. Shaun will be at a press conference 4 o'clock. So going to get this out around that time, hopefully. But appreciate you tuning in, whether you're watching this a little bit later, you're watching this, right before the practice, whatever it may be. But the Eagles made a roster move, actually a couple, and one of them we knew was coming. But let's take a gander here real quick. Shaun Bradley was placed on IR. We know that his season is over. Very unfortunate there. But the guy that we talked about the other day that was in for a tryout, Sagapolu, is now signed to the Philadelphia Eagles. So they bring in another interior defensive lineman. So let's get to know this young man, and let's talk about the updated positions and depth chart. Any thoughts that you have, any questions? Maybe you watch this kid, you're a Wisconsin fan, USFL fan, whatever it may be. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Let's get rocking and rolling here. We're going to check out Sagapolu's bio and stats here. And we finally added another nose tackle, a big boy, 26 years old, 6'2", 341. Now, says 2 years experience, but he's been trying for the last 4 years in the NFL. That's just his accrued experience. But you can see he went to Wisconsin, undrafted free agent in 2019. Now, he has been on the practice squad of Green Bay, Detroit, Atlanta, and then he was just most recently with the USFL's Pittsburgh Maulers for the last couple years. So he's gotten some time to actually play now. And in the NFL, he was only on practice squads, so he has no stats there, but I'm going to show you what he did the last couple of years in the USFL. Played in 10 games, started all of them, 50 tackles, 5 sacks. Those were literally the only other stats you could find on this dude. Kind of ridiculous here, but you can see his college stats here. Just went with the same stuff. I probably could have dug a little deeper, maybe try to find some things, but we take all this stuff with a grain of salt, especially when it is over 5 years ago. So 42 games, 26 starts, 61 tackles, 6 sacks, and an interception. As a guy that's 340 pounds, that's quite impressive. So, look, for me, we talked about Noah Ellis being the only guy behind Jordan Davis that's truly a nose tackle, a zero shade, one technique, 2-gap run stopper. There is no other guy other than Noah Ellis behind Jordan Davis. The other guys are versatile pieces that are definitely defensive tackles, but they're not that nose tackle that we talk about. So this is a nose tackle. This guy is definitely going to compete there. So we added another guy into the interior defensive line rotation, but he adds something a little different than, what we had. So it adds competition for Noah Ellis. He played the most snaps out of the interior guys, didn't do too much. So I'm sure this young man here, Sagapolu, is going to get his time this Thursday. And in joint practices, he's going to have to catch up to speed. But let's take a look at the updated look at the interior defensive linemen, and then I will show you the linebackers. But now we're back to 9 here. And look, this is we've got some deep rooms. We've talked about the interior D-line, the edge rushers, the corners. But my Lord, the top 4, they're going to be the best in the league for years to come. Beyond them, how many are you keeping? 5, 6, 7? And we've talked about the differences. Guys like Street and Ojomo who can play almost all the way out to that a 4, maybe even 5 technique. I wouldn't play them at 5, but 4 technique in certain, odd fronts. These guys can play defensive end. So a lot of competition for those guys. Marlon Tuipulotu, one of those guys more like a Cox. And I think, they all, bring something into the depth experience here. But now Ellis and Sagapolu will be those beasts. So you see Ellis 346, Sagapolu 341. Now we've got Davis here at 330 something. But for me, obviously he's lost some weight and he's going to just continue his conditioning. He's a monster, so I don't really care about that. But whoever wants to back him up, let's go. And you can see they already have his number too. So 66, you will see the monster out there. That is Sagapolu. Now the linebackers, we talked about this yesterday, but in case you missed it, Bradley, he has now been officially placed on IR. So we're down to 6 linebackers competing here. We've got 7, but one's on IR, so he can't really compete. So look, I think that, I saw some good things from Morrow. I like Ellis. Jack and Cunningham got to get up to speed. Ben Van Sumeren got a huge opportunity, showed off his athleticism. Got a lot of work, but a very high upside. So excited about the competition there. But, I understand some people, you got to go add this, you got to add that. To me, I still think this is a Super Bowl roster, and I love what we have there. But I understand, people want to be upset about something at all times. So I get it. But for me, love this roster. Still locking in my Super Bowl prediction. And, this is what you do in the offseason. You add pieces to, parts you don't have, something you feel you're missing that could push other people. This is perfectly fine. This kid never makes the roster. Not going to surprise me. This is just that time of year. So trying not to get too carried away with this. A lot of people, he sucks. It's like, bro, this guy is literally getting signed, midway through the offseason here because whatever. But let's take a look at this depth chart now with Bradley off. And like I was mentioning, if you've seen any of these shows, you know that I've got 12 starters here on defense. Obviously, only 11 can. But at times, it's going to be 5-man fronts. So, the Eagles media doesn't understand this. Their own media page that posts this on their website, they don't understand how our defense works. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to show how it actually works. A lot of 5-man fronts, but you're also going to see 4-man fronts, which just means you take out one of those defensive tackles. And then you have the nickel corner down there in Avonte Maddox. So, yes, I am plugging him in. And yes, I'm plugging in 3 D tackles because that's how this D will work. But it gives you a better idea of what you're looking at here, what positions people actually play. A lot of people think Hassan Reddick is a middle linebacker. That is not it. A lot of, Milton Williams is a defensive end. That's not it. So I try to label it for people to understand what edge rushers are. That could be your defensive end, your outside linebacker, a lot of different things because this is multiple schemes. All you need to know is one side, you've got Sweat. His backups are Graham, Barnett, Robinson, and Jackson. On the other side, Reddick with Smith, Johnson, and Johnson behind him. Loaded. Interior-wise, we talked about, the versatility, but the one thing we were missing is that nose tackle. Jordan Davis, now Noah Ellis, and as you can see, Olive Sagapolu is put in there. So anybody in green is new to the team, as you can see. A lot of good additions here. Excited about this defense. But then on linebacker, you can see Bradley on IR. Those other guys we just mentioned will get a chance to step it up. But we've also talked about Nolan Smith, Kyron Johnson. They help at that off-ball linebacker. Maybe they can find themselves, getting some work there, and that pushes somebody else off this roster. We shall see. Only one cut down period this offseason, so going to get a lot of information here with these joint practices. And look, that starts at 5 today, so as soon as that's over, we'll be breaking all that down, what was talked about today, any highlights I can bring, anything like that, we will be discussing it. Shaun Desai will have a presser at 4 o'clock, so I'll be talking about all that stuff. But that's all I've got for you right now. If you got anything from this, do me a favor, hit that like button. You can always subscribe down below. But I hope to talk to you later, discuss these joint practices. But until then, I am Jimmy Smith, and this is On the Road to Victory. You have yourselves a great day. Stay safe out there. And as always, say it with me at home now. Go Birds!